welcome. I'm Nancy Saucer, and I am the Curator and Exhibitions Director at McLean Project for the Arts. And I am here with John Allen, who is an artist from the Washington area who will be participating in MPA Art Fest this year. So we get to have a nice conversation about his work. Welcome, John.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here. It's a
Oh,
thank you.
our pleasure. So I've really had a great time looking at your website and sort of pondering your work. And I'm very interested to hear a little bit about your educational background and what the bearing is on the work that you're doing today artistically.
Certainly, thank you. Actually, my background is in architectural education. I went to Catholic University of America for my bachelor's and master's in architecture. My master's, I got a dual master's degree in sacred space and cultural studies in architecture, as well as sustainable design.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, that had a huge impact on the way that I approach my work, and just kind of the terms of in terms of the process, in terms of kind of a lot of how it is presented as well. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of the work that I do now, I feel like I kind of started it while I was doing architecture school over the course of my 7 years of education
Yeah.
there.
That's a really interesting program. I've met others who've
Yeah.
come out of there or teach over there, and always just full of people with out of the box ideas, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The Sacred Space program, especially, I think had a really huge impact on my work, and I think definitely pushed me towards doing the kind of work that I do
Uh-huh. Do you still practice architecture?
now. No, I do not. I did for a time after finishing grad school, but after pursuing it for a little while, I decided that that wasn't exactly the path that I wanted to take, and I instead wanted
Mm-hmm.
to focus on being an artist full time. And I wanted to kind of implement a lot of what I learned in that way. But I
Sure.
tried to kind of integrate a lot of the principles that I learned into my work, and kind of as I kind of evolve and grow as an artist, I definitely want to be able to bring some more of those architectural principles into my practice.
Uh-huh. Well, looking at your work across media, and you work with a lot of different media, collage, photo, digital, and then mixed media works, which seem to be mostly natural found objects or recycled objects, which, obviously shows an interest in sustainability and ecology and a really strong interest in nature. Um, I'm also interested in and how working across all those different mediums, um, how does that play out in your work and how does that suit your ideas and concepts that you're interested in? And then when you add in there music, which is very important to you too, how does that all layer together for you?
Certainly, certainly. I think a lot of kind of the mixed media aspect of it really, again, kind of started during my architectural education. Because kind of part of the design process was involved using, like, kind of employing a lot of different methods, be it photography, be it model making, collage, etc., to kind of express you know, a design proposal. And so I found that in the process of doing that, I really liked working in a lot of these different mediums. I like to be able to do that. It's kind of prior
Hmm.
going to architectural school, my background was more in like painting and drawing and that kind of thing. There was like a little bit of that in school, but it kind of opened up a lot more to kind of all these different ways of expressing an idea. And I just found that really interesting. Kind of a lot of the reason the work is manifested the way it is, and I use a lot of these different mediums, actually goes back to my master's thesis in from the Sacred Space program, that was kind of a synthesis of the sustainable and the sacred in this kind of project that was all about time and how
Hmm.
we experience time in different ways, be it deep time, geological time, cosmic time, personal time, biological time. So a lot
Mhm.
of the work that's been done since like 2016 is really a continuation of that project in a way. It's not done in like a design proposal like it was in school, but it's rather kind of taking those ideas and trying to integrate them, not just kind of into my personal life, but like how are different ways that I can express them. Because kind of
Yeah.
the idea with that project was kind of this campus where you experience time different ways. And at the very end, you would document your experience in this part of this building called the Memory Hall, where you would log your memories, you'd log your experience at this place. And
Yeah.
so a lot of my work is it's a continuation of that. It's taking the memory hall and like zooming in on that and then trying to kind of document all these different experiences and memories in different ways through different media.
Yeah, yeah. Well, your education is coming in handy if you're still working with the thesis material,
Yeah. Oh
on
yeah,
into your
definitely.
life. That's pretty cool. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
And in terms of the music, actually, my musical project that is kind of runs concurrently to Permian Designs is a virtual memory, which is actually kind of was my first stab at kind of really engaging with that thesis project in a new way. And
Hmm.
kind of in that sense, like I use like found sounds and make kind of sound collages and kind of rework bits of things that I've recorded into kind of these passages in time. And so
Hmm.
kind of that idea of a virtual memory, that it's like these bits of kind of things I've collected that are synthesized virtually. And it's kind of this continuing storyline in a way. It's
Yeah,
a narrative arc that kind of began back in early 2017 and has continued to this day. And kind of that
yeah,
and designs were initially kind of separate, but now they're kind of more interwoven, you know. And
yeah,
I'm excited to kind of see where that goes this
yeah.
time.
Really rich concepts. Well, I'm thinking too, coming from architecture, which is very much about place,
Yeah.
and you're very interested in time. And it seems like the work in a way is kind of overlapping time and place, particularly when you start talking about a memory hall, which sounds to me like a place. And I'm just, I'm interested in, now that you're working in more fleeting or temporal ways, if you just want to talk a little bit more about place as it relates to
Oh,
the
yeah.
to the work that has to do with time and memory.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, kind of part of that is like, in terms of the photography, you probably saw on the website that kind of all of the photos are simply listed by the date and the place, and
Hmm.
there's no kind of other title. And that's kind of the way that I want to keep it, that it's basically a snapshot of time, this specific
Yeah,
moment. And
yeah,
trying, some of kind of the reason that I'll edit the photos a bit is to kind of maybe more capture kind of what that moment felt like that maybe the camera itself can't adequately express.
yeah,
So kind of a very like, yeah, again, kind of a snapshot of time. So kind of making the focus that moment. And on the mixed media pieces, like the radiation series, which I have featured, are also all of those artifacts that the mixed media pieces are made of are things that I've collected over time and things
hmm,
that have like a lot of meaning to me, from certain places, certain moments that I've had, and that I want to kind
yeah,
of piece them together to kind of like catalog a lot of those memories and express them in a new way. I think a
yeah,
lot of it is taking of those memories in the past and kind of trying to make something new out of it. So it's not just kind of a looking back, but also kind of looking forward in a way. A lot of
yeah,
my work is very interested in the intersection of that, of like, the looking backward and the looking forward. I mean, you probably see like there's a lot of like prehistoric kind of content
yes,
as
yeah,
well. Yeah, I mean, I actually like in my spare time, I volunteer at the Smithsonian Fossil Hall as like a
uh-huh,
basically like I do exhibit interpretation. So that kind of aspect of like deep time is very, very
yeah,
interesting. huge.
Yeah, you get to hang out with that old stuff. So
Oh
it,
yeah,
it
no, I
yeah,
love it.
yeah.
I love it.
That's
I love
great.
it.
When I was in graduate school, I was at the University of Washington. I used to go to the Burke Museum, and just being around the sort of archaeological
Mm,
objects, and it just it's
yeah,
very inspiring,
yeah,
because
yeah. I
those
just
objects are really imbued. You know,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
I find that so fascinating, especially like kind of those artifacts of like fossils and ancient life that is like so long gone, separated
yeah,
from like millions, tens, hundreds of millions of years. You know?
yeah. Yeah, that's great. So you mentioned that you made art before you went to architecture school. So when did you start making things?
Oh, I mean, I've been obsessed with making things since I was a little kid. And
Ah,
yeah, that started at a very, very early age, like preschool, kindergarten. I was always like obsessed with drawing and everything like that.
yeah,
Art class was my favorite class in school by far. Especially by the time like I was in high school, like
yeah.
the end of high school, like I just like lived in the art room.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of it was like, kind of just trying to figure out what my kind of artistic voice was in a way. So, you try a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it definitely kind of, I think doing the architectural education really gave that, I think, a lot of focus that it didn't have before.
Yeah.
And my more recent work has actually been like a lot of collage work has been going back to those like high school pieces and like remixing them in a way and
Uh-huh.
kind of
Sure.
editing them digitally, like cutting them up and warping them and making something new out of them. So kind of using
Mm-hmm.
it as raw material to make
Yeah.
something.
It's kind of a spiral progression,
Yeah, absolutely.
moving back around. Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
Absolutely. And some of
Yeah.
my earliest photography on the website is actually from when I was in high school. I have a couple photos from like back then. So I was always taking pictures
Yeah.
all the time,
Yeah.
and
And that goes with your moving back, moving forward
yeah.
kind of trajectory. Yeah, that's cool. Um, so what a couple two more questions. Just quickly, your design studio is called Permian Designs.
It's,
What does that mean? What's Permian,
um,
and,
that is
and why did you name
directly
it that?
Oh yes, certainly. That is directly in reference to the Permian era of geological time. So that
Uh-huh.
was the last stage of the Paleozoic, which was kind of the epoch that occurred right before the Mesozoic, where the dinosaurs were around. So the
Yeah.
Permian was kind of that last period that culminated in the kind of greatest mass extinction in the history of life on Earth. Almost 90% of all life disappeared. So I just find it really interesting. It was the sense if that didn't happen, life would be just completely different.
Yeah.
I'm very fascinated by that period in geological time. I mean that's kind of why the Dimetrodon is the logo. The mirrored Dimetrodon skeleton is the logo for
Yeah.
Permian Designs. That was
Yeah.
one of probably the most famous Permian animal that we know of. But it's that connection to deep time. And
Yeah.
I kind of, in coming up with that originally, because I kind of came up with the name back in 2019 when I decided to really focus on doing art full time. There were kind of a lot of different names I put out there that were tied to deep time, but Permian really seemed to be the one that like meant a lot to me and seemed to really stick. And I think a lot of that is that idea of that kind of what life would have been like if that extinction had never happened. Like I
Yeah.
just feel it to be a very fascinating period in deep time.
Yeah. Yeah. Super important.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, that's great. So just really quickly, as and then we'll finish up. Any super influential artists that you have that have been sort of, kind of in the back of your head throughout your career,
Oh
in
my,
terms of just really interested in their ideas and influenced by them.
certainly, certainly. Oh, so many, so many. But I'll try to kind of just stick to kind of the most important ones. Definitely like, especially when I was in architecture school, Maya Lin. was a huge
Uh-huh.
influence on me, and she still continues to be. I think kind of a lot of what she does, especially with her installation work, is
Mm-hmm.
inspiration of kind of where I would like to take this in the future, because I do
Yeah.
want to kind of bring some of those overtly architectural elements back into this more kind of as things progress. So
Yeah, and
definitely.
super experiential, just kind of like whole body
Mhm.
experience. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I love her engagement with the kind of phenomenological and the way that she's able to kind of blur the lines between art and architecture and has that
Hmm.
strong connection to the land, and a lot of her land art and installation work. So definitely, like Ireland's a huge influence. Russell Mills also is a massive, massive influence. His mixed media work, I've always really been captivated by, and a lot of it. I mean, you can probably see some of the influence in some of the mixed media pieces of taking these found objects and making something new
Yeah.
with them. But yeah, definitely, Russell Mills is a huge influence on. And even musically, like a lot of my work has been inspired by musicians like Biosphere or William Basinski or even like Nine Inch Nails or something, like
Uh-huh.
people that kind of take lots of different like found elements and put them together. And also it's kind of like very interested by kind of their singular people, like they're following a singular vision. It's just them, and they're kind
Yeah.
of synthesizing all of these things
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. Kind of collectors of stimuli and
Mhm.
and ideas and
Yes.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Well, thank you so much. It's been really fun talking to you.
Thank
And
you.
I will look forward to meeting you at MPA Art Fest.
Yeah, I greatly look forward to meeting you as well. Thank you so much for this. I really
Great.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Take care. Have a good day.
You too. You too.